Well, today on episode 131, we're not going to be talking about music as much. Destry has another topic he wants to talk about related to firearms. I'm going to be talking a little bit about whatever happened to the Northern Kingdom when Israel split into the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom. We've talked a lot in the past about what happened to Judah in the South, but over the next couple of weeks, you're going to be talking about the North and why that's significant. So today's episode 131. Hope you enjoy it.
I come bearing gifts.
Okay.
I get too excited. It's nothing novel, but you all seem to enjoy it.
Are you the gift?
I'm always the gift. Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Now, I've hinted. I've hinted. That was a bad shot on my part. I hinted around that Donna was staying with me this week. She's staying with me because Hope is down. Taking care of their mother. Hope comes from Georgia and goes right through where there is a Chucky, what is it called?
Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's. Oh,
Buc-ee's, yeah. Buc-ee's. And I know you guys really like those, so we normally get one or two for y'all. What are they called? Beef?
Chopped brisket sandwich.
Chopped brisket sandwich.
Maybe this is why Max has been so vocal this morning.
Where I tell you
he's
what.
smelling two of these.
It might be.
Because he's got it in his eyes right now.
That might be exactly what it is. And I have to preface what we're going to do today by saying this. You're going to hear Josh and Chris have been generous enough to try to get through Max's apprehension about being here. And for whatever reason, it may be the brisket because,
because earlier he was doing this to you.
Yeah.
Now that I'm holding the brisket sandwich, he's doing it to me.
Doing it to you.
So I'm going to go put this in the fridge.
Okay. I think that's a good idea. You mind if he puts yours in the fridge too? Okay. So let's do
You
that.
notice he didn't come to me. He realizes I'm the dominant beast on the market. I will eat him.
He senses that. But this morning, he's done everything. He is following. That's got to be what it is. He is following Josh to the refrigerator very exuberantly. And before we started, whenever he was wanting to meet, the sandwiches were right down next to me. But anyway, this morning he's whining quite a bit. So we're just going to push through that and see what happens.
He wants the chopped brisket sandwich.
I think that's exactly what he wants. But anyway, we're going to go through and see what we can do with him in the background. So brisket sandwich, yes. Had a class last night. Josh and I teach the gun club on Wednesday night at 6:30 A102 Marcus Point Baptist Church main campus. It's the start of a new term, we'll call it. Had 9 people last night, have 11, probably 11 people if everybody shows up. And I don't know how other classes are really, because I've never been to another class that I wasn't teaching. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how other classes are, but we have a stable skeleton group of people that I'll just say they just refuse to go to other classes.
Right.
I mean,
which is cool.
Yeah, we're happy with our group, and because we can build on things. Especially, I can start anywhere with gun stuff, but with you, Josh, what you teach, you can build on things from week to week, and you can start new sections, and people understand. You trust. More than a stranger, you trust their knowledge of the Bible in relationship with Christ to where you can do stuff that's maybe in left field a little bit.
Yeah, or even maybe a little bit controversial.
Right. Yeah. And you can trust that it's not going to negatively affect their faith.
Right.
That's a plus in my opinion. Mm-hmm. That's really good. So, and we're going to continue that. So last night, what both of us did was we threw out some ideas. Actually, Josh threw out 4 big ideas on what to start studying from now to basically Christmas. And I asked.
Oh, now till next August.
Now to next. Oh, okay, yeah. Now to next August. Okay. That is a lot of information to go from here to Chris. Okay, not next August. I asked what people want to study, and I said if you've said it before, if you've asked me before and we haven't studied it, just say it again because I don't always get to everything. So I just wanted people, if they're in the Pensacola area, to know what we're talking about in Gun Club when it comes to the gun part. This in one other article that I read about what to do whenever you get stopped by a police officer. I'm going to talk about those things today in place of music. But before we got started, Chris reminded me of somebody that I discovered, Ella Langley. Ella Langley. So I'll definitely want to talk about her sometime soon. She is, if you're in country music, she is number one right now. She's the Reba McEntire of my time right now. Anyway, wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, she's pretty much up at the top.
Yeah.
I just happened to see her feed come across, and I was like, but what got me was when I looked at her, she looks like the young Linda Ronstadt. To me, she really does.
I have to get over that before I watch her. I don't really like looking at Linda Ronstadt. She's tough to look at.
Oh, speaking of which,
Yes.
so I've been over the past several weeks while sitting at my desk working away on drawing plans and stuff on my other screen. I've been watching through all of the original episodes of The Muppet Show, all 5 seasons.
Okay.
And Linda Ronstadt was on one of them as a guest.
Yeah, I remember that. I think you reminded me of that or something whenever we were talking about
So
Linda.
I watched the actual episode earlier this week.
Nice. Was that in the 70s?
Yeah.
It was? Okay. All right. All right. So
It's hard to think about the Muppets. If you think about the Muppets, I mean, this is the 70s.
Yeah.
You don't think about the
Crazy.
Muppets being like that. You know what I mean?
I know.
don't. It's weird.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's a long time ago, but yet it's not.
No.
So some of the stuff that the students talked about last night, if you're interested in joining us, I was taking shorthand. My first shorthand is gun. That's what I wrote.
Probably a good
gun.
topic to talk about in the gun club.
So,
Hollow
okay.
point.
I think I meant to say gun holsters. So holsters, different holsters. If you are,
As opposed to, calculator holsters.
That's right.
Pocket protector boy.
Drill holsters kind of thing. Holsters, most people that carry on a regular basis, they've gone through many holsters. So they end up keeping them and then giving them away, that kind of thing. So we'll talk about different holsters.
Chris, when you were in college, was it still the era of slide rules, or were you just on the? Had they transitioned to calculators yet?
I'm not sure they
We
got out.
had calculators, but they weren't that common.
Okay.
It was a lot. Yeah, we still had them, but I mean, there were people that still used slide rulers. So yeah.
Okay, because I remember like when my uncle was in college. That was right at the very beginning of calculators being an actual thing, and everybody still had slide rules, and they actually did have holsters for their
Okay.
slide rules, and they just carry them around that way.
Gotcha.
And, similar for calculators too, but not as much.
Well, I was in
bigger.
college in the early '80s, early '80s.
Okay, so yeah.
So yeah, we had calculators, but there were still a lot of the older professors that slide rule come out. It was like,
Yeah.
Right.
he's old school.
Yeah.
Show and tell. So I prompted everybody in class, if you buy a new gun, if you buy a new holster, if you buy something new, accessory, whatever, guns you'll have to pre-approve with Josh and myself. I could just see somebody walking in there with a 50 cal or something and not approve.
Yeah.
We wanted to have control over that, and just
it's good practice anyway.
yeah, it is good practice.
To just have
I'd be
someone
in
to
so
go
much
through.
trouble.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, some people would be. If somebody saw you walking through the church with a gun, they go, "Just leave him alone. Just let him be who he is."
Yeah.
Most people that know you would
Well, that actually
probably
happened.
going to class.
Remember, that actually happened. You had given me that orange box, which actually had some studio stuff.
Yes.
And the whole security staff was walking around. They had this orange box with our switcher in it. And finally,
Yeah.
Tommy walked by and goes, Leave me alone. That's his gun club guy.
Tommy's our executive pastor. Okay. Show and tell. Just FYI, if we're doing anything with any type of firearm in our class, I clear it. Josh clears it. If Chris is there, he clears it. Whoever I trust, pretty much, which means I've gone to the range and seen them shoot a gun and da-da-da. I ask them to clear it, and anybody else who wants to can clear it. And we do our best not to have any ammo and, in the area, especially if we're dry fire. If we're dry firing, and we do dry fire with inert, is that what it's called? Inert guns. Snap caps, and just plastic guns, one that you have 3D printed. We don't have to watch out for bullets there.
Right.
But anyway, so we're really careful.
Just to clarify, it is not a functioning firearm
That's correct.
that I've 3D printed. It is a model.
That's right. That's right.
Specific for practice.
That is exactly right.
Functioning components.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarification.
That's going to get me arrested.
That's true. So show and tell, female carry. So Natasha talked about, it's different for males and females. Where should I carry? She said. If I were to go running, where should I?
I try not to carry females as much anymore.
How do I carry? So we're going to talk about that. And some smart aleck was asking about where all calibers come from. Feature an old gun. I'm going to ask you to come in. And good part about carrying a gun. I don't remember the guy's name. Do you? Who asked about those three?
Yeah, I think he's on some podcast.
It was Josh. Yeah. Josh asked about those three, and those are the only three that I'd really have to do research on. Everything else can pretty much come on top of my head.
Yeah, anyway, but not a lot.
It wouldn't take a lot. I like the ideas.
But the reason I said the third one especially is because I've gotten feedback from a couple people who are like, I started coming to gun club and I liked guns, and then I went to gun club and now I'm afraid of guns and I'm selling them all. And I'm like, well, that's kind of perked my ears up.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm like, oh, you are.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, that's kind of not what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
It's kind of mixed feelings. Like, I'll totally buy them all, but
right.
But at the same time, so I figured, we should probably. Get back to doing at least a few things that's like, here's the recreational aspects of it, or here's the beneficial aspects of it, or whatever.
Absolutely. Right. 100%. And we're going to talk about rifles also, field cleaning. And unfortunately, we did talk about that once or twice, and the person who wants to talk about that wasn't there. But we can always do it again. Mm-hmm. It's always a good thing to do. Home invasion preparedness, specifically with guns. In other words, should I keep firearms placed around the house just in case somebody comes in? Should I keep one on me? How do I do this? How do I do that? And type of ammo to use in the house, as opposed hollow point as opposed to something else. All right. So, Max, what do you want to talk about? Okay. So what we didn't get a chance to talk about last night was what to do if you get stopped by a police officer. I'm trying to ignore. It usually takes about a minute.
Was that a siren in the back?
I don't know what was. Something must be happening. What to do if you get stopped, with or without a gun? Okay, and this article comes from Concealed Carry, which is the USCCA magazine. It comes out every month, and my gosh, there's so much information in here, and a lot of it is repeat, but it's really good, in my opinion. Good information. This article was written by Kevin L. Jameson, is an attorney in the Kansas City, Missouri area, concentrating in the area of weapons and self-defense. So real quick, I'll just go over some highlights of things that he says. He has a lot of experience, and these things seems to have come through for positive. Start at the stop right away. So pull all the way over to the right if you can, if it's all feasible. Pull all the way over to the right. Stay in your car. I wish that was common sense.
I made a mistake the first time I ever got pulled over. Fortunately, nothing happened.
What was your mistake?
So I was fresh out of college. My first job right out of college. Working for a home builder or whatever. I was supposed to go like meet them at a job site in some obscure part of Gulf Breeze, or no. Anyway, Okaloosa County.
Sorry.
And I guess I was speeding, got pulled over, and I didn't even, like, here again, first time I'd ever been pulled over, I'm doing the friendly thing. I get out and I walk over to him.
Yep.
And I guess he saw, little, like, 21-year-old skinny me, and, like, I don't care if he gets out. There's nothing he can do. But he's like, go ahead and just sit back in your car, and we'll take it. I'm like, oh, okay. And then later I found out, oh, wow, he could have just shot you.
Man, no kidding.
Yeah.
And that will. Do you remember what was the cop like? Was he older, younger?
He's a little older, yeah, if I remember correctly. Older than me, obviously.
So he had some experience.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that we need to consider. You may get different responses from different police officers. If you're stopped in minute 1, you get stopped again minute 10. You might have 2 different responses depending on the police officer. Straight out of academy, you probably would have gotten drawn down on.
Yeah.
I would think. But somebody with a little bit more experience.
This was, me like 30, 40 pounds lighter and, skinny as a bean.
Right.
Super pale white. Like obviously have never been in the sun kind of thing, So I don't think he was intimidated either way, even if I did have nefarious intent.
Okay.
So he probably just like, whatever, just get back in your truck.
The pocket protector really
Yeah.
sold them.
Right.
We're good.
Pocket holster. Yeah. Pen holster.
Pocket holster. Gotcha. By the way, I meant to start with this. Leading up to this week, I've watched many videos of stops and how a regular good stop that's not news, but there are some on there telling you what to do. All the bad stops, those are a video worthy. I say facetiously. But this is it's really for people who respect and people who don't respect police officers and their authority. If your intent, if your goal is to make that stop as quick as possible and as ticket-free as possible, these are the things you should do. If you don't think that they have the authority, that's something that you need to take up in court. On the side of the road is not the time. Nobody is going to win whenever you start judging authority. You start saying that I'm a sovereign citizen. Those guys are geniuses, man. I love those guys. They just think, anyway, even if you don't like what's happening, it will go so much better for you if you cooperate. If you're a female and somebody starts feeling you up, that's a different story. I'm not talking about the extremes. I'm talking about right down the middle, the typical stop, okay? How about this? Police officers don't want to be out on the road very long either.
Right.
That's the last thing he or she wants to do is to be out on the road, to be vulnerable to what's going on. So just follow instructions. Like I've said before, you go through Subway, you will be in and out of there in the drive-thru if you listen and then respond. If you go up to the Subway drive-thru and go, I want this bread, and the little person behind the microphone will say, welcome to Subway. What kind of bread do you want? It doesn't matter what you say. They're going to go through their script, right?
Right.
So just listen and respond. That'll be a lot better. Good boy. Okay. Good boy, Max. We're going to praise him for sitting there between Josh's feet. Here's one that I didn't think of, but makes total sense, Chris. Turn off your car. If your car's on,
that's an indication you may want to run.
That's right. It's exactly what the police is going to think.
Yeah.
Whether it's your indication, your intent or not, you'll see on police stops, it's one of the first things they'll say, please turn off your car. So go ahead and do that. Just turn off your car. All right. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Love that. I don't think anybody needs to think about why that is. But you might want to think about this. Hands on steering wheel, awesome. If your hands are not on the steering wheel, anything in this police officer's mind can happen.
Yep.
If you're going for your registration, in his mind, his or her mind, he's going for something. I don't know what it is. Click, hand on gun, ready to go.
Yeah.
Let's just try to get rid of that altogether. Unless you have three hands.
Yeah, but I've actually had a negative experience doing that myself. I actually had my hands on the wheel. JDL, he said I wasn't wearing my seatbelt.
Okay.
And what it was, I had suspenders, and he saw the silver up here. And I hadn't even gotten out of the car for over 2 hours. And we were pulled over on W Street. And I had both my hands up on the steering wheel. Why do you have your hands on the steering wheel? I says, because I'm showing you I have no threat. Well, you didn't have your seatbelt on. And I was like, well, I do. You put it on after I stopped you. And no, you're seeing the buckle here. He let me go, but he questioned my putting my hands up there. And I thought that was kind of weird. I'm doing that for your safety.
Yeah.
Right, and he was a state trooper, but he didn't care.
Right.
He got mad.
So good example. I mean, every stop is not going to be the same, but if you are compliant, it can still listen. Anything can happen, but chances are so much better if you're compliant, right? I know you probably wanted to talk back to him and wanted to be sassy with him and everything, and you would have been pulled out of the. Probably, chances are higher that you would have been pulled out of the car, or at least asked to get out of the car, and other stuff would have happened.
Well, I try to be as respectful as possible. But again, they're people. Everybody has a different attitude. Right. So I have more problems with them when I've had problems at the house.
Yeah.
I understand. And after the last time they came out 83 minutes late after I called them. And they tell me, don't come out of your house and engage people. Yeah. I looked at him like I'm better qualified to engage them than you are.
Let's not get off track.
But still.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I totally get it. And I knew this was going to evoke a response from you because we've had these conversations. And all that stuff is true. I know it's true. At a stop to get your goal met and the police officer's goal met, these are steps that are probably going to help, right? Totally different conversation about experiences and everything that you've had. So, okay, turn off your vehicle. Turn on your overhead light. I've never heard that before, but I know why they're talking about it. Turn on your overhead light. Now, in Donna's car and my car, I have that off. The last thing I want on a normal day is for me to pull up somewhere or to Donna to pull up somewhere. He's not chewing a wire, is he?
No, he's chewing a paper towel.
Okay. The last thing I want is for Donna to pull up to a driveway, to her work or to her house, turn off the ignition, and the interior light go on. That's the last thing I want. So everybody out here can see her,
right? But
she can't see anybody. It's the last thing in the world I want.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what I've often done, I have tinted windows on my vehicle. So as soon as the cop walks up, I'll roll down all of the windows in the vehicle. That way he can see in. Everybody inside can see out.
Yes. That's an awesome idea. Great idea.
And plus, my windows are a little bit too tinted, so I don't want them to see.
Right, that's a good point. Okay, here's one that is definitely controversial, even in our gun club. I've said before, my go-to is if you're asked about carrying a firearm or having one in your car, then absolutely tell them. I think maybe in Florida it's illegal if you don't.
By the way, we're not offering legal advice.
We are not offering legal advice. These are just thoughts,
right?
And things that are here. Now, this is what this article says.
Where's this article?
This article is in Concealed Carry. It's a magazine put out by USCCA.
Okay.
Monthly magazine, good magazine. I'm just going to read this so it's not misinterpreted.
Okay.
If you're carrying, inform the officer that you have a gun. Some officers believe that some officers, I want you to listen to that. Some officers believe that you're required to inform them that you have a gun. In some states, you must. Other states have vastly different laws. Police Hate surprises. I underlined that twice. Surprises never work out well for them. I totally agree with the police hate surprises. Whether you need to let them know right off that you have a firearm, that you need to make up your own mind, and depending on what state you're in. He's from Kansas City, I think. Did I say that? He is from Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri. He suggests, as a lawyer, to just let him know. But here's a caveat. Don't do it like this. I have a gun.
Right.
I feel like I have to say that. As a matter of fact, don't ever use the word gun. According to this article, officers, first responders are trained to respond to the word gun.
Right.
I've seen, what are they called? Chest cams of police officers saying, gun, gun, gun. That's all they say, and then everybody knows he's got a gun. So when you say gun, that's automatic. You don't want that to happen. This is the.
As you say, so last time I got pulled over, I also learned this. Like, I don't keep my firearm in the same location that I keep my registration and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But I told him, I said, I have a concealed carry permit.
Good.
My firearm that I typically carry is in this location in my car.
Great.
Just to let you know. And he was totally cool.
His
He's like,
response was
all
good?
right,
Cool.
just don't make any sudden movements. Is it? And he's like, is it with your registration? I said no, which fortunately, because I didn't even think about that. He's like, okay, then just leave it where it is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Good. That's a good rapport, right? All right. So this lawyer suggests saying this, something like this, Chris. I have a license to carry, or I'm legally carrying. Don't say gun. The word gun is a warning in police circles, and that isn't the it's not the button you want to push.
Right.
All right. Does that make sense? I have, in Chris's case, I have many firearms.
I have several firearms in a trunk full of dead bodies.
I didn't say that.
I did.
That's funny.
Actually,
Anyway.
I just looked it up. In Florida, you there's no legality that says you have to tell a law enforcement officer, according to Florida statute 790.6.
Okay.
So you do not have to inform in Florida.
Don't have to.
But there are a lot of states that you do have to inform in. So you just have to. That's one of the USCCA has their map, and it will give you, when you click on the states you're going to travel through, it will tell you who, what, when, where.
Okay.
You know, my gun's here, but I go to traveling to Virginia, I got to stop in Kentucky or wherever, put it in my trunk, take everything apart, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know.
And now you're not exaggerating. Some states require you to do that.
Yeah.
And if you're going, there was something passed here recently. I didn't read the articles. I was already set on doing this in class and here. There's something that just passed that has an effect on if you are just traveling on the highway through one state. Now, do some research on
Federal,
that.
that's the interstate commerce thing.
Yes.
If you're traveling, according to the way it read out, if you are traveling through a state and you're not stopping, then you don't have to do certain things.
Okay, yeah,
That's
okay.
but that doesn't mean the state has to accept that.
Okay.
In some cases, but it was a new federal thing. So if you're like going through Virginia, but if you pull off to go to Arby's or get gas,
anything,
you're now in trouble.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
So here again, not legal advice, just kind of like human being advice. If a cop pulls you over and asks if you have a firearm, and you immediately respond with, Florida statute tells me I don't have to tell you a thing.
They love that.
Yeah.
Police officers love that.
It is actually best to let the officer ask you. In most cases, because if they ask you, then they're priming themselves for the response. Where if you volunteer, I'm a concealed carry holder, I have this. That sometimes more cases will put them more on edge.
Sure.
Because you told them.
Gotcha. That makes good sense. That you've taken a little bit of control away from them.
Right.
And as much as we may not like being out of control, listen, I've said this before, every time I go see the Blue Angels fly, I am totally legal. But I get a little nervous whenever I go up to the gate and I see a strapping young man or young woman with their gun right here, knowing that they've been trained with that gun and they can use it very well. They're twice as heavy, twice as 3 or 4 times young as I am, just awesome looking soldier. And they ask me if I have any weapons in the car. I always get a little nervous about that. You know what I mean? So I want to comply as much as possible. I do not want to. I always want to say, I got Pat and Charlie with me. Those are the only ones. But I've never done that before. I hope I never do. So
They don't play.
they don't play.
This is not the time for humor.
I give them all the control. Right?
Yeah.
That's my point. I give them all the control. Whatever you want me to do, I want to do. And I'm going to do the same thing with police officers. Max agrees. Okay. There is something called, there's something, I've said in class before that if a police officer asks you if it's okay with you to search your car, I've said you might as well say yes, because if you don't, they're going to have a dog come out and they're going to search your car. Now, what I've learned here, at least in Kansas City, there's a time limit. By the time the clock starts the second you are stopped, a police officer can only have you stop for a certain period of time. So there might not be a police dog available for a half hour. So this guy says, don't ever let a police officer search your car. That's what, and I've heard other lawyers say that too.
Yeah.
So that's something that you, again, not advice. That's something that you have to deal with. You have to think about and make your own decisions on that part.
Yep. And that's one of those questions where if you ask, 6 different people, you'll get 6 different answers.
Right. I agree. You agree, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, at least here in Kansas City, he's saying that now police officers can get search warrants over the radio, so it may not take as long either to get a search warrant. So, depending on what you're doing, I guess, whatever, make up your own minds. But these are the things that are possible at a stop. Probable cause. Boy, I tell you what, anything can be probable cause, right? He was acting nervous. And there's really no way that you can't disprove that, is there?
Right.
If you're acting nervous. I smelled marijuana. Well, you may have smelled marijuana from my car passing by. That's true. But still, it's a valid reason for somebody to search and not have permission to search. So the permission thing, okay. Shh. Okay, expect gun complications. If there's a gun, your gun may be taken away from you. Your gun may be disassembled. Your gun may be put on top of the car. It may be treated in a way that you don't think it needs to be treated. It may be put on a car and it be unsafe. Every police officer is not a gun person. That was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Every police officer is not a gun guy or gun girl, but again, they have the control. So let me wind up here with this.
He's nervous about something.
He is nervous about something. I'm not exactly sure what, but he's worse than he was last week. Okay, hold on, baby. Ooh, a yawn whine. Shh. I'm going to end with this one, okay? He's often asked, can a police officer blank? Can a police officer do this? You know what the answer is?
Yes.
Yes. On the side of the road, you might as well just say the police officer can do this. To Josh's point earlier, nothing is ever going to get resolved whenever you say, well, actually, the law states, It may very well state that, but you're just not going to win that argument.
Yeah, and you're not going to really teach the officer anything. Officer's not there to learn from you.
No.
Yeah.
All that can be taken care of in the courts. And you very well might be right, but you're not going to be right on the side of the road. It's just not going to. It's not the environment for it. It's just not going to happen. That's just the reality of it. Okay. Okay, let's see. Mind your manners. I don't think I need to go into that. Really, good manners can prevent problems before they start.
But that's the people aren't even taught manners anymore.
I know,
I had a
that's
discussion
right.
with somebody about this. It's like manners aren't even taught in the home anymore at all.
Right,
So
right.
how can you have something that you were never taught?
All the videos that I've watched this week, at first I'm watching them going, why does somebody respond like that to police officers? But here's what made it make sense to me. If you're brought up not respecting the police officers, your behavior makes perfect sense to me. You don't respect anything about them. You don't respect the badge. You don't respect the gun. You don't respect anything. And I got to put myself in that position. I'm not sure how I'd react too if I didn't respect the person that was going to apprehend me, and I truly didn't think that they had the right to do that. I'm fighting it with everything I've got. That's what many of these videos are people that just do not respect, and that's their choice, I guess.
Yeah, and I think, growing up in an environment where you're required to be respectful to your, people who are older than you, or to your parents, your relatives, things like that, your teachers, there's a lapse, I think, in later generations or more recent generations where you're not instilled with this idea that there's a hierarchy of authority,
Right.
And that
Generally
that
speaking,
hierarchy
that's right.
by default earns respect because of its position.
Yeah.
I think that's more or less gone away, because when you do see like those YouTube videos of not just people interacting with police officers, but just people interacting in general, the mindset is, I don't have to respect you until you earn my respect.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And that's not there's a lot of untruth about that statement, because sometimes a person's position grants them, at least at the beginning, an assumption of respect. And if that's not there, I think that's, like you were saying, that's where we get a lot of those interactions between people who are like, I don't care if you're a cop and I don't have to do anything you say. And no, you do. And it would have been good if you learned that,
right,
20 years ago.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that is exactly what happens, and it feeds itself.
Yeah.
If you're in an environment where you hang out a lot, even if you were taught respect to begin with, if you're hanging out with people that were not taught respect and they don't respect authority, that's going to feed on you. You get a certain age, it's certainly going to feed on you. So here's a route to success, Chris. Here we go. Ready?
Teach your kids to respect.
That's right. Yes, sir. No, sir. No excuse, sir. Then sign the ticket and be on your way. That's this recipe for success.
And fight it in court if you need to afterwards.
That's exactly right. That's the caveat. You have that right to do that. If we could just... I've also seen videos this week of somebody who did not agree with what was happening, but they didn't fight. They said, "Sir, I'm sorry. I want you to know I respect you and I respect your authority, and I will, and I'll do anything you ask. But I don't think that you're right here." The police officer didn't go, "Well, you son of..." They went, "I respect that, and you have the right to go." They had a conversation.
Yeah.
They had a conversation, and the person got a ticket for going through a red light, or got a ticket for whatever. If they were to be sassy with the cop, and I know this because I talked to cops at well, he didn't like to be called a cop, a sheriff, a deputy. I said, "What do you do if somebody is just sassy with you? They're not breaking the law, but just sassy." He said, "Well, I'll tell you what, if you're not sassy with me, I probably won't even give you a ticket." This is a sheriff. "I probably won't even give you a ticket." The guy sitting next to him in our class, who was a city police officer, said, "I'm going to give you a ticket." Right? You remember that?
Yeah.
Sitting right next to each other. The city police officer said, "I will give you a ticket if you get stopped." The deputy said, "Chances are," he said, "that's not even really on my radar. He does other stuff." But the guy, the sheriff said, "If you're sassy with me, I'm going to find everything that's wrong with your car. And believe me, every car on the road has something wrong with it, and I'm going to give you every ticket I can." That's just who he is.
Right.
But he has the right to do that. This is what I'm saying. He's a human, like you said. Let's just get in there, get out of there, go on about your business.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, funny thing about that type of attitude because I identify with that.
I know you.
Because as recently, it's been the trend where people come to me with engineering projects and they're like, I had AI put together all this stuff. All I need for you to do is just look it over and approve it.
Oh boy,
And so I welcome that.
you do.
And I redline the heck out of that thing.
Do you?
Because AI is horrible
Okay.
at being actually intelligent, especially when it comes to engineering issues and stuff. And so, you know, I will be a lot less apt to just go through everything with the finest tooth spacing of combs, whatever how you say that.
Yeah.
I'll be way less apt to do that if it's not AI and it's someone's actual work. You know, I'm you know, more apt to help them, you know, get through it, all this stuff.
Right.
But if someone comes at me like, Grok did this, I just need you to approve it. I'm like, awesome.
I just need you. I think that's the phrase that gets you. I just need you to do this.
Right.
Right.
As if Grok replaces, you know, engineering degrees and certifications and experience and you know, this stuff. Like, you know, one of my favorite things recently has been this screenshot from an old IBM manual about the ability for computers or whether or not computers should make management decisions. And it said a computer cannot be held accountable. Therefore, a computer should never make a management decision.
Did you post that?
I did.
I saw
Yes.
that. I saw that this week.
And I'm like, man, that just speaks so much.
Yep. It does. It absolutely does. Well, anyway, any questions, guys, that I can help you out with? Me being the expert after reading an article.
I think you've covered 100% of it.
Okay.
There's nothing anyone could add to that
Is
to make
so
it
there's-
more complete.
So I liked what you said. You know, you had there was still problems even though you did the right thing. So even though we do the right thing, still things can come up, right? But is there anything that you've experienced that that is contradictory or to what I said?
So one time, it sounds like I make it sound like I've been pulled over so many times. I haven't. Probably more than some people, but I've been pulled over in several years.
Okay.
I think 2021 was my last one. Anyway, I did get pulled over, and it was a Saturday morning. You know, my wife, she bakes things and sells them, and she's also often running behind schedule. We'll leave it that way. But so I was trying to get to the delivery location as fast as I could. I was going down the road, and all of a sudden I see the blue lights behind me. This is early on a Saturday morning. I pull over, roll down all my windows. Cop comes up, you know, asked me the usual questions, and I told him, you know, why I was speeding. I said, so, and I explained the whole thing about my wife. She bakes stuff, has a cottage industry business. She does out of her home, and she was late on this order, and she handed it to me to deliver. And I'm trying to make a little bit of time. I have, you know, a couple dozen decorated cookies in the trunk, and I'm just trying to deliver those. Meeting another random lady in a Publix parking lot down the road.
And you were crying, and
so I was just kind of like pouring my heart out to this officer.
You asked,
and you know, I saw on his hand that there was a wedding ring, and he literally, as he was listening to this story, just kind of put his head down,
Josh.
and just kind of closed his eyes and shook his head a little bit. He's like, all right, tell you what. Be careful. I'm not going to give you a ticket. I'm just going to give you a warning. Just be careful.
You're suffering enough as it is. Nothing I can do to make it any worse.
I was like, that was great.
That's so funny. So that's contradictory to this guy's no excuse, sir.
Right.
You gave him the story and it worked.
Yeah, I mean,
truth.
It's what was actually
the
going
truth,
on,
right,
you know.
right.
And he saw the cookies in the back,
That's
so
good.
it's not like he's just coming up with some random
That's
story.
good. So there you go.
I feel you, man.
Maybe if it's a legitimate excuse, maybe that'll work.
I got a wife too. I get it.
So good. That's good. All right, guys. Thanks. I appreciate it very much. And that was it, man. But you gave some really good options for us to study in the next coming months.
Yeah, so all of our small groups at church, we have kind of like this yearly schedule, and in late August, when school starts back up again, that's kind of like the beginning of our school year too.
Yep.
And so last night was the first night where all of the groups came back, and not that we had never ever stopped meeting, but all the groups, quote unquote, came back and and started the next year. And so since we had just finished our most recent series last week in our small group.
Maccabees.
Yes, the talking about the time between the testaments, which that will be the first of a couple installments of us talking about what happened in between the testaments,
Good.
because that was only part of the story.
Okay,
or
good.
part
Everybody
of the
loved that.
account. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, last night I kind of gave a preview of what's going to happen in the next year. Between this August and the end of next summer. And I presented 3 of at least 4 or 5 different series, one of which is, we've talked a lot about the southern kingdom of Judah, because last year we did a series on Esther, because in the main service on Sunday mornings, our pastor was doing a very short series on Esther. So we did like a companion series, which was a deep dive into it. And so we got into, the Persian Empire and its influence over the southern kingdom of Judah, and, why it was even had influence over the southern kingdom of Judah. So we talked about a lot of the history of Judah and the Babylonian captivity, and then the Persian takeover, and then that led us into Nehemiah and Ezra and rebuilding Jerusalem and the Second Temple, and and then eventually the Greeks conquered the Persians, and that ended up getting us into the era between Malachi and Matthew, and so it really that little series in Esther really snowballed into a lot of different information, but it was all centered around what used to be the southern kingdom. And so I thought, we need to talk about the northern kingdom, because that was just as significant.
Right.
And so I teased a series last night that's going to talk about not just the history of the northern kingdom, the progression of kings, all that stuff, but also the prophets that were specifically oriented towards the northern kingdom. Because we think of, we have a lot of these major prophets like Isaiah and Jeremiah, and those were all prophets, and Ezekiel, those were all prophets to the southern kingdom of Judah. But then we have, what we tend to call minor prophets, not because they are minor, but because the length of their books is small, right? Like Amos and Hosea, those guys were prophets to the northern kingdom. And then there's the whole interaction between prophets Elijah and Elisha in the northern kingdom. So there's a lot of stuff that went on with respect to the northern kingdom that you really need to know to understand. Like for example, a lot of what Jesus did in his ministry had to do with the territory of the northern kingdom. And so I want to talk a lot about the northern kingdom of Israel and its eventual takeover by the Assyrian Empire, and what the Assyrian Empire did when they took over the northern kingdom, and how those actions ended up resulting in the Sumerian people, which were considered to be like half-breeds. They're like half Jew, half Gentile, corrupted, corrupted people of Israel. And by the time you get to the New Testament, they're looked at unfavorably, like they were less than worthy of the gospel, even to the point where, we see Jesus having a conversation with a woman, and she recalls the mindset of the day is like, you wouldn't give food from your table to the dogs. And the woman says, yeah, but dogs even eat the crumbs off the table. Basically referring to this animosity that was between the two. Like the quote unquote pure Jews looked at the Samaritans like, you guys are dogs.
Yeah.
You're not even worth our time. And Jesus using that as an example in how to treat your neighbor and who the gospel is intended for, and all that kind of stuff. So super, super important. So I want to go over that stuff so we have kind of more of a balance between our knowledge of the southern kingdom of Judah and the Davidic line of kings and the northern kingdom of Israel and the non-Davidic line of kings, and how that works into the whole thing. So that was one of the options, and that's going to be the one that we focus on first. And then another one was kind of like a harmony of the gospel style Bible study, but done probably in a different way than most people are used to. See, there's two Joshuas in the Bible. There's a Joshua in the Old Testament who, we associate him with conquering Jericho and bringing Israel into the Promised Land, and that whole military campaign of conquering the land of Canaan. But there's a Joshua in the New Testament who we know by the Greek version of his name, Jesus, and his ministry, in a lot of ways, picked up where the Joshua of the Old Testament left off. Now, Jesus wasn't on earth to conquer nations in the same sense of like Joshua and his military campaign in the Old Testament, but Jesus flipped the script. The Pharisees and the religious leaders of the day and a lot of Jews were looking at the Roman Empire who had just conquered them, and they were recalling back in their recent history of the time between the Testaments when they had a hero that threw off the Greek Empire. And they had, around a century of self-rule where they had their own kings, the Hasmonean dynasty. And then the Romans came in and conquered them and started imposing a lot of the same kinds of rules that the Greeks did originally. And so they were looking for the next, like Judas Maccabeus, to come in and throw off the Roman Empire and allow Israel to reestablish its kingdom again. And here's Jesus, who's coming claiming to be the king of the Jews, and he's not doing what they're expecting. They're looking for a kingdom on earth, and Jesus keeps using the vocabulary of the kingdom of heaven. And so when you superimpose the map of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John onto the map of the book of Joshua and even Judges, it's almost like, in a theological sense, Jesus picked up where Joshua left off. And the battle that he's fighting is a spiritual battle. He's reclaiming territories that were under the jurisdiction of other gods. And he's reestablishing his authority, that he's not just the king of Judah, he's the king of everything. And his authority is everywhere. And so I want to do that as sort of like a, now that we know about the history of Judah and the history of Israel, now go into Jesus' ministry and see how he is not just acting to reunify both in a theological sense, but also incorporating the Gentile nations as well. So that's another study that I want to do. And then the third option was, I called it the most boring Bible study ever.
I got a response.
Right. Because everybody looks at the book of Leviticus as the most boring book of the Bible. Because if you just read it from front to back and you don't really know what's going on, it's just kind of like list after list after list of rules. Like, what animals can you eat? What do you do with sacrifices? How do you like wash yourself? Those types of things. But if you study it in the structure it was meant to be evaluated in, it starts to make a whole lot more sense, because at the very center of Leviticus is the mechanism of atonement. And so that's kind of like the highlight of it. And the rest of the book is organized around that center in a very symmetrical way. Like the first part of Leviticus and the last part of Leviticus address the same thing. The next inward from both sides address the same thing. The next inward from it's basically separated into seven parts, where the first and the last are the same, the second from the first and the second to the last are the same, and so on till you get to atonement. And it accomplishes a couple things, because God's goal is to reestablish that relationship that He had in the garden with mankind before mankind ceased to be perfect and holy. And the challenge is that if we're not perfect and holy, and God is perfect and holy, then we don't have the ability to be in His presence. Not only that, but the closer we get to His presence, the more dangerous it becomes, just because it's almost like getting closer and closer to the core of a nuclear reactor. There's a lot of protocols, safety protocols that have to happen for a technician or whatever to get closer and closer to the core of a nuclear reactor, because while that energy that it's creating is beneficial and sustaining, if you approach it in the wrong way, it can be devastating and it can be heavily destructive. And so very similar ideas, the protocols by which we become, or ancient Israel were to become, be considered like ritually clean, lifestyle pure, that kind of stuff, the protocols of the priests, in order for us to dwell either adjacent to the presence of God, or priest to be able to be next to the presence of God, or a high priest to be directly in the presence of God. There were mechanisms in place to allow that to happen without just utterly being consumed by that presence. But at the same time, it also gives us, in Ephesians, we're told that we don't fight against flesh and blood. We fight against spiritual wickedness, principalities, powers. There's a spiritual battle waging behind the physical. And Leviticus starts to give us a deeper insight into how we as physical people fight spiritual battles. And that technique, that mechanism, gives us a lot of insight into what Jesus was doing in His ministry and in His death and burial and resurrection. So all that stuff comes together. I think over the next year, it's going to be deep, but it's going to be really cool.
Okay.
I think it's going to connect a lot of dots.
For some reason, the last one you talked about, Leviticus, really struck me more than it did last night. I like the idea of learning how to fight against those things in a practical way, is the way I've received it. But I think Matt brought up a good point last night about the first one you're talking about. That will give us he asked about, it's just in my words, how can we have intelligent conversations with people today about the wars that are going on, that are happening today? And
right.
I think everybody liked that.
Yeah, and one of the things, especially talking about the interaction between the Northern Kingdom and Assyria, that's going to give us a lot of foundational information to talk about the conflict that's happening in that area of the world today, especially between the Judaism and Islam, and the roots of both of those.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Good, very good.
Yeah.
Awesome, Josh. Thank you, sir. Great job as always. We had 9 people last night, so if we get two more of our regulars, we'll have that regular 9 to 12, 9, 10, 11, 12 people. But want to invite you over if you want to come visit us. If you're in the Pensacola area, come see us. Main campus, Pensacola. I don't know what the address is. I don't remember. Do you remember the address is? I'm not sure either.
Yep.
But main campus, A102, Marcus Point Baptist Church. Chris, anything else? Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for listening and watching. Don, I love you. We'll see everybody later for next week for episode 132. See ya.